Let's turn now to the latest on the vaccine front in Operation Warp Speed. Meg Terrell's got the latest. Meg.
Hey, Melissa. Well, we got a briefing from Operation Warp Speed just now and got a sense for the pace of vaccine distribution for the rest of this month and into January. So we've learned that next week's allocations are going to be about 4.67 million doses of the vaccine going out. That'll be 2.67 million from Pfizer, 2 million from Moderna. That's on top of the 7.9 million that went out this week and the 2.9 million that went out the week before. Now that gets us to about 15.5 million doses in December, and the rest of that is going to be pushed into the first week of January. So that is a bit of a lag from what we were expecting for the 20 million doses, both getting out in December and getting those first shots into people's arms. That is going a little bit more slowly than the government had expected. And so we're going to keep watching this closely, hoping, of course, that the pace of being able to administer these vaccines really starts to pick up. Now, we got some updates also on the development front for vaccines. For Johnson & Johnson, which is expected to be the next one where we get data potentially in January. And remember, that's just one shot. They could potentially, if those data are good, file for emergency use authorization late January, early February, according to Moncef Slaoui from Operation Warp Speed. AstraZeneca, he says, has enrolled 27,000 of 30,000 people into its U.S. phase 3 trial. Meanwhile, we heard from the UK today that they have submitted their package for approval to the UK regulator. So a bit of a mismatch where we might see the UK act on this vaccine where we're still waiting for the data from the U.S. Now, Novavax is in discussions with the FDA to start its U.S. phase 3, according to Moncef Slaoui. That's been pushed back a couple months, but we should potentially start to see that getting going. Now, some news today that really got eclipsed by this deal with Pfizer to supply 100 million more doses of its vaccine was a deal between the U.S. and Merck to supply doses of its COVID-19 drug for patients who have severe forms of the disease. It's a $356 million deal to manufacture and supply up to 100,000 doses of this drug through June 30th of next year. It is not yet cleared through the FDA, but Mel, it showed some really remarkable results in an interim phase 3 trial that it reduced the risk of death or respiratory failure by more than 50%. This really kind of flew under the radar, and Merck acquired this little company to make this drug, and they signed that supply deal today. Melissa?
Wow, good news. Meg, thank you. Meg Terrell. So we've got more vaccines coming. We've got a possible treatment coming. Dan Nathan, all good.
Yeah, I think a way to play this, when you think of the XLV, that's the S&P Healthcare Select ETF, some of the largest holdings are Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Merck, UNH is one of the top ones. It's been basing here between, I don't know, in and around 110 for the last month. It had a base below that between 100 and 105. It looks like it's really poised to break out. I think a lot of tailwinds. I get it. A lot of these companies are not going to be making the profits that they could on some of these vaccines and treatments, but I suspect that these are going to be around for a while here. So to me, the XLV looks poised for a breakout here. It's only up about 11% on the year. And that, that's probably a way to play it without idiosyncratic risk in any one of these individual names.
What if you wanted to do individual names, Guy? Moderna, Pfizer, Merck?
Merck's its own category. I think in full disclosure, my wife works for Merck, but, Merck's obviously underperformed recently. I think in terms of how you play it, Pfizer showed its hand. The day that big announcement came out, the stock spiked up to 43. We talked about it that night saying take the money and run, trade it back down to 37. It's probably a level where it holds. Dan spoke about that last night. In terms of Moderna, look, I thought it was going to stop at 100. You saw where it went, but I still think that's a bit ahead of itself. And I think it does a back and fill back to 95. And the way to play it, we've said it for a long time, and we have 2 hours, Melms. IBB, new all-time high today. And, oh, by the way, because we have so much time, you have to mention, I don't know what a yeoman is, Mel. I have no idea. But Meg Terrell has done absolute yeoman's work over the last 9 months on the back of everything that's going on. Single-handedly, good for Meg.
She is the MVP of CNBC, that's for sure.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.